Thanks, Paul. Thanks everyone for coming and staying for the best session of the program, the lucky last one before the panel. So as mentioned, Thunderbird Resources, and I'll take you through our portfolio of projects, which includes our uranium in Canada. We just finished a drilling program there, and as part of the Northern Hemisphere weather season, we really needed to pivot and have a look at other opportunities. We looked at uranium in the southern part of the world, and really an opportunity came across our desk in relation to antimony. I've spent the last 20 years with particular reference to rare earths, so have a pretty good knowledge and understanding of critical minerals and understand how it all works from a geopolitical perspective, and really took a deep dive in antimony in the last 3 months to have a look at what the real key supply-demand is, where it sits in the world, and to see what's happened in China in recent months just highlights the great opportunity that we have here. So in terms of location, you can see right bang in the middle of the land area is Larvotto's Hillgrove project. And I think today they announced a $30 million capital raise. If you have a look at the economics of that project, they're simply outstanding. They've historically produced antimony over the time and gold, so it's a well-known project. It's ranked 8th in the world, and I think if you take out the geopolitical projects in that top 8, it's fair to say this is probably number 1 in the world in relation to safe geopolitical areas. I have spoken many times on podiums for a number of companies, and I can actually put my hand on my heart and say that from infrastructure point of view, this is the best I've been associated with in relation to being close to Armidale in New South Wales, the road infrastructure, and everything's there to really make for a great project. We got the opportunity to acquire the tenements in red, so we surround Larvotto. These were assets that were picked up 3 years ago by a gentleman who was working in North America working on copper, and during COVID he thought he may never get to the US again, so he needs to find a project to work on in Australia. So as he went around Australia having a look at what's available, he actually picked up that land package 3 years ago. And fair to say that over the last few months, when China first announced they were going to ban antimony, this was a time he thought was worthwhile to put into a listed company. So over the last couple of months, we had the opportunity to have a look at the asset and actually acquire the property area. 488 square kilometres. There's only a small amount of us in the area, so you've got Trig Mining and Lode are the 2 other major explorers in the area, and Thunderbird Resources. So when it comes to our property area, as I said, we actually surround the Hillgrove, the Larvotto Hillgrove project. We've got an enormous amount of outcropping and historical results on our project. As I said, we've only had it from start to today has been about 2 months, so we're going through the historical data. This is an area that has not had a lot of modern exploration outside of that Hillgrove area. So there's very little drilling. There's historical workings, historical production of gold from about 100 years ago. So we're taking our time working through that historical information to make sure that we get it up to a standard that we can report it. But as I said before, you can see numbers up there, Little Britain, Union Jack and the like. We've got 18% antimony. There's early stage exploration and geology that suggests that there's a northwest southeast trend from the Hillgrove project that goes into our property. They've just had results recently from drilling, which is only 2 kilometres from our property. So it's a super exciting area. We've got a lot of work to do and follow up the historical work, get airborne surveys happening as soon as possible. Further north is Kookabookra. To our east is Trig Mining, have got a small resource of antimony there, so they're working through that at the moment. And again, we've got outstanding gold prospectivity. There's been a little bit of drilling done here in recent times, but again, so much rich historical data to go through, and we've got to get boots on the ground as soon as possible. So again, antimony and gold in that particular property area. So in terms of the acquisition, it was 150,000 cash, 30 million shares, and then a heap of milestones later on in relation to certain MPVs and resource size. That's a picture of the area in relation to what we'll be dealing with. So in terms of planned work programs, we'll be compiling the data. We'll then be getting land access agreements in place, get on the ground, do rock chip, soil sampling, drone magnetics, and then we start drilling. So we expect to be able to drill there in a very short period of time. As mentioned before, antimony hit the news waves in the last 48 hours with China saying they're going to ban antimony exports. You look at what its applications are for, and obviously the criticalities associated with defence applications. It's used in hardening of lead, goes into bullets, missiles, and many other products. It's also an additive to solar farms, where it can improve the efficiency of a solar farm by 9%, and many others, including fire retardant. So it's got a lot of applications, not just for defence, but there's no question that that's got a real interest with the US, with concerns about having such a dominant player in China in relation to the supply chain. If you look there, where does antimony come from at the moment? It's China, it's Russia, it's Tajikistan, Burma, Bolivia are the 5 sort of key sites that it comes from around the world. And it doesn't matter which critical mineral, we have to have a diversity of supply chains. You don't want to have anyone have a monopoly of a supply chain, and in particular certain countries make it even more concerning, if you like. We really need to build out the critical minerals to have a more transparent pricing. China will manipulate price, and we're seeing really strong price for antimony at the moment, sitting at about 37,000 US a tonne, and we will see that go up and down over time. I mean, that's been seen in so many other commodities. But one of the great things about Lovrotto's project and the project we're looking at surrounding it is that it's not only got antimony, but it's got gold. So you've got the ability to have multiple revenue streams. It's not just reliant on antimony. And that is so important when you've got one opaque revenue stream that is going to be influenced heavily by a country like China. Just quickly touching on our uranium properties in the Athabasca Basin. As I said, we haven't thrown these out at all. We're still big bulls in uranium. We just recently finished drilling our Hidden Bay project. We have 4 key properties: Hook Lake, Hidden Bay, Clough Lake and Surprise Creek. We picked these up in 2020, and when these were picked up, the basin had a lot of area to look and pick up properties. It's now been all taken up, and you've really got to negotiate with an existing holder to be able to get a position in the Athabasca Basin. It's world class. It's the highest grade uranium deposits in the world. You've got Cameco with the famous Rabbit Lake. They've got MacArthur River and Cigar Lake. We've got Rabbit Lake just up the road from us. It's world class. It's a fantastic place to do business in terms of Saskatchewan. Uranium, it's been flat lying, $80 a pound. People are waiting to see it pop. And I think the great news of recent times has been the IT groups that have been coming in and actually investing in uranium as an energy source to feed the data centres and in particular AI. So we've seen Amazon, Microsoft all start to interact with uranium with the 3 Mile Island and also the small modular reactors. So we're going to see a positive sign in 2025 with uranium. This is our number 1 project, Hidden Bay. We just completed 1,800 metres of drilling. It's got some great geological features there. We drilled 4 key prospects. We hit alteration. We hit uranium in small quantities on the contact. We've got a former Cameco geophysicist that works with us, who's worked on many projects in the basin, and he's super excited about this. Unfortunately, to excite the market, you've got to hit multiple % intersections, but with uranium you can be so close with really subtle signatures. So we are super excited about this and really hope to see a strengthening of our market cap and hopefully get back onto this property at some stage in the future. That's just another graph, another chart. Clough Lake, this is our second priority project. It's located right near the historical Clough Lake mine, which is about 7 kilometres from our border. Clough Lake produced 62 million pounds at 0.92, which is about 25 grams of gold if you do a gold equivalent. And just to the south of us, or southwest, you've got Shea Creek, which is owned by UEC and Orano. That's over 100 million pounds at 1.3%. The challenge with that deposit, it's 800 metres deep. We've flown airborne geophysics, and what the geophysicists have done is realise that the potential of our project sits at around 200 metres below surface. So the exciting thing for us is the area is fertile, but having a closer to surface target is a lot better, because drilling 800 metre holes is not for the faint-hearted. And just quickly, Surprise Creek. This is a project we actually pegged in 2021-22 around the old uranium city. And the last hole drilled in the area was actually before I was born in 1968, 2.1 metres at 4.3%. So we've just flown airborne in about June, July this year. We've just got the data, we're processing it now, so we hope to have some information out to the market on this particular project. And just finally, with our copper exposure, when we put the uranium assets in 2020, we had a Peruvian asset. We worked on that and we got it to a point where it was drill ready. It took us 2 years to get permitting. We transacted that with Firetail Resources, so we retained 30%. Simon, the director of Firetail at the back with his arms up, loves Peru. We've got 16.5 million shares, so just under 5% of the company. We still own 30% of the project. We got cash and shares, so we've actually returned money to the company from the investment we've made into this project, and I think it's got an exciting future. Firetail has also got a project that they've recently acquired in Canada, so we've got a great exposure to copper and to Firetail through our ownership of shares in that company. And also on the Surprise Creek project, we've also got some really interesting copper numbers from historical drilling done by Phelps Dodge. It's fair to say in the Athabasca Basin, there has been such limited work done for any commodity outside of uranium. So it's very rare to see historical work done in the basin for the likes of copper. This was Phelps Dodge that was up there a very long time ago. So with this geophysics we've just flown, we hope to be able to get information to provide a model that can highlight what are we looking for, what could this be like in terms of a copper target. So look, in summary, in terms of our proposition, we've had a pivotal acquisition in relation to our antimony project in Rockvale, which is right next door to Lovato, which I'm hoping to get a slight fee for keep promoting them. But it's an outstanding project and very proud to be right next door to them. We've got 488 square kilometres, so we've got a great land holding, and we just can't wait to get on the ground there and start working it, going through the historical data and drilling as soon as possible. We've been developing our uranium project. We've drilled it, both Hidden Bay and Hook Lake, in the last few years. We're looking to work out how to monetise some of those properties. We can't do everything. And then we've got a great copper exposure through Firetail Resources and the free carried interest in Surprise Creek. Our share price, I think, is over 2 cents at the moment. We've got 324 million shares on issue, so market cap about $6 million, a couple of $1 million net cash. There are major shareholders there. We are a serious leverage when you consider I was at a function Friday in Perth and Ron accepted the award for best share last year or this year. So hopefully I'll get that award next year. In terms of board of directors, myself, Gary Billingsley, been around a long time, Canadian-based, knows uranium really well. Robin Wilson, he discovered the Browns Range project for Northern Minerals from a greenfield discovery, so he's got exploration success in his CV, and Joe Graziano, our company secretary. Thank you very much.